Right now, Terry Crews joins me live in Studio Q. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Nice to see you.
It's good to be here.
Thanks a lot for
this
coming
is a
in.
really cool deal right now.
It's a beautiful studio, eh?
I know. I was like expecting just in a cold, Russian-looking room where it's like, all right, and this is beautiful, like mood lighting. I like it.
That's what I was going for, but they wouldn't let me have it. You're speaking tomorrow in Toronto at the White Ribbon Conference. You've argued we need to reform the idea of manhood.
Yes.
How would you reform that idea?
I was the guy, okay? Playing in the NFL, doing all, being able to lift, doing gigantic bench presses and being able to get in a lot of fights and do your thing. It's kind of one of those things that, you don't even understand why you're doing what you're doing anymore. Manhood is a cult. And what I mean by that is that, what I'm saying is people's perception of manhood is a cult in that you are expected to like sports. You're expected to, look at the cheerleaders and look at women a certain way, like, hey, wouldn't you? Hey, and there's that elbow, there's that kind of thing. And what happens is, over the years, you don't even understand what's happening to you. The way I grew up, there was a huge pimp culture in Flint, Michigan, where it's really like, hey man, when I would go ask like older teens about, man, what do you do, to meet a girl or go out on a date, it was like, hey man, you gotta have game. And I was like, what do you mean? No, man, you gotta have game, man. You have to lie to them, and you have to tell them things that they want to hear, and you gotta talk smooth to them and do your whole thing. But I was like, well, how about be yourself? Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. You're gonna ruin it. The whole goal was to get in her pants. And the whole goal to be a man, you had to have as much sex as possible.
Right.
You had to beat up as many men as possible. You had to be the toughest guy in the room. You had to take no stuff from nobody. And no one can tell you anything. You're self-made. And it's all a lie.
Yeah.
All of it. Once I understood and saw that this is a lie.
What made you realize that? What made you come to that conclusion?
It's weird because it happens in stages. I like to say rock bottom is really not, it's like falling off a cliff, but you're just hitting ledges. You're just like, oh, wow, I'm down. No, you're not. You're still falling. Boom, and there's another one. I had to really, coming up, I had to really change the way I viewed women, because I was addicted to pornography for years. And it was one of those things that starts to affect you in every way. You begin to see women as objects. You see them as less than people. They just become tools. They just become things that are there to please you. And what's happened is when you do that to another human beings become that way for you. Just everything is for your, whatever you need to do. You learn how to use people, and it becomes sort of sociopathic. And for me, I really actually felt that I was more valuable than my wife and my kids. I felt like I owned my wife and my kids. And that's part of a man. In that thing, I was never told any different. There were guys that were like, hey man, control your wife. Okay, I think your wife is getting out of line here. You know what I mean? And you feel the pressure to be like, yeah, I got to control my wife. And if your kids are acting up, they're like, hey, man, you better get those kids and you better, you the man, right? So you better tell them something. And you are expected to actually beat them, and hurt them in order to keep them in line and do all this stuff. And especially in NFL, it became a thing where I watched men just basically treat people and women as things that they could beat on. Anything that was a threat to their manhood, that was a threat to their perception, you were literally supposed to lash out at it. Right. And for me, when my wife said, I'm out, when my kids didn't want to talk to me, I said, I could have went one or two ways. The other one way is, you know what? That proves I'm right. You know what? I always said I was going to walk alone, and you know what? Damn it, I will. And you know what people do? And most men, they just get a divorce, find a new woman, do it all over again. Get another divorce, find another woman, do it all over again. And they never change. I said, wait a minute. Maybe it's me. Maybe the kids are looking at me because I do have a problem. Maybe my wife is looking at me like that because she realizes I am an idiot. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And that realization sunk in, and it was the beginning of a whole new thing for me. Like, there were things I would never tell my wife, because my wife, she don't need, I need to know everything about her, but she don't need to know everything about me.
Right.
That's a whole nother concept that we need to get rid of. We need to totally. We have to equalize. We have to know that women are just as viable, just as brilliant as men are. But men are always taught, listen, you're the man, you're the dominant species on this earth. You're the guy that's supposed to do whatever. You know what I realized? Is that all my strength, every ounce of my physical strength is for building and protecting my wife and family, never for hurting, never for intimidating. But when I used it that way, it always backfired. And men seem to feel like that's their goal. And
Right.
I'm here to change it. First of all, it's impossible to be more manly than me. And this is not a brag. And this is not a brag. To be honest with you. I'm like, look, I got 5 kids.
I thought my half beard here might change that a little bit. Apparently not. You noticed it.
Right. You know, and the thing is, it's certain guys, they go, yeah, but you know, when men do say this thing, the question they have for you is, yeah, but did you ever get hit in the face? You know what I mean? Like, you'd be different if you had to fight your whole life and get out of the ghetto. And I did all that. I did all that. I got hit in the face. I hit people in the face. I knocked people out. I played in the NFL. I did the fights. I did the whole thing. I did the manliest things you can do. Terry Crews, I've jumped out of helicopters. I've done that. And you know what? I realized that it had nothing to do with being a man. And what happened is people have equated that to manhood. If you can't fix a car in 3 seconds flat, if you can't build a house or do all this kind of stuff, and you don't have that kind of knowledge, people don't tend to respect you. But guess what? Unless guys like me stand up and say something, nothing's going to change.
Right.
Nothing. I like to equate it to almost slavery, American slavery. Until slaves can yell all day. They can say, hell, this is messed up. This is all terrible. And everybody just looks at them and nods and walks right on by.
Right.
It was only when good white men and women became abolitionists and said, this is wrong, that things started to change. Because you can't help.
You want to be that. You want to be a catalyst.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You can't be in jail and help your other friend, and he's in jail too. You're like, well, hey, man, we're going to get out of here. He's like, how? I don't know.
Right.
So you have to be free before you can help somebody in.
Right.
And I want to be that guy.
And you mentioned you come from that culture. You come from the NFL. You said in an interview that you could have become Ray Rice based on your experience in the NFL. Ray Rice, of course, recently received an indefinite suspension from the NFL after a video surfaced of him physically abusing his wife. What did you mean by I could have become Ray Rice?
Oh, yeah. There were many, many times I intimidated my wife through my size, through my whole thing. No, you're going to do what I said. You're going to do. And it would get to a real heated kind of thing. And I felt like I could do something like that. Now, I never crossed that line, but the whole thing, it starts like that. You see what I mean?
Did you feel that when you heard the story, did you empathize with Ray Rice to a certain extent?
No, not at all. Well, this is the thing. I understood.
Right.
I didn't say, I thought, of course he's wrong, but I knew what he was feeling. Do you understand what I mean? Because when you're talking about when a man is caught up and all his manhood is wrapped up in his persona and that whole thing, anything that confronts that is a threat. If your kids talk back to you, even if you're wrong, the threat is, oh no, you're gonna see right through me. I'm insecure. You understand what I'm saying? It's the insecurity of someone finding out that you're really not all that. That's what I'm saying, because a man has to put on an image. A man has to say, I am the man. And you know what I like to equate it to? It's like you're on a ledge on the side of a building, and you have to tell people you're not scared, and you're scared to death. But what happens is you're like, no, I'm fine. And like, hey, and your family's telling you, could you get off the ledge and come inside? There's an open window right here. And you go, no, I'm good. I'm a man. I'm all right. And you know what happens? People end up falling to their death. and keeping that pride, keeping that thing. They never went in the window because I'm a self-made man. The Marlboro man is always alone. He's got a cigarette, he's got a horse, and he rides off into the sunset,
Right.
but you never see him with his family. Because the family ain't going with him, you know what I mean? Because he's so engrossed in that he can't do anything.
You did make a transition from being, again, punching people, jumping out of helicopters was said, being a professional football player. All of a sudden, you make the transition into becoming an actor. And if you don't mind me saying so, in your acting career, you're well known for being physically imposing. Did you ever think that you would become a comedic actor?
First of all, I never wanted to act at all.
You were an artist.
I was an artist, painting, drawing, the whole thing. I acted because I was broke. And I was trying to get behind the scenes. I literally was trying. I had auditions at Disney, and I was trying to be a creator, a director, this kind of stuff. I was trying to do storyboards, and all of a sudden, we ran out of money. The term starving artist is a real viable one in my life. And I went on an audition. A friend of mine invited me to an audition. The first thing I ever auditioned for, I got. It was a TV show called Battle Dome. Now, I never thought I would be in front of the camera. In that show, they would put me in a cage.
Right. It was like American Gladiators.
Yeah, basically to the 10th power. And I would beat people up, and whoever stayed in the cage long enough would win money.
But that's still sort of a reflection of your, you might say, past life, of your physically intimidating life. But now on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you're a tough, violent beat cop, but who is now a gentle family man. And you've said that character is more similar to you than anything. What do you mean by that?
It's me. First of all, when I say I can flip on both sides, it's weird because if anybody threatens my family, it's over. It ain't happening because Terry Crews is the master protector of my family. Okay, but
what do you mean by that?
Well, no, what I mean is again, I know what my physical strength is for.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think a man. The reason a man is strong is to protect his family. Because you know what? There are other men out there who are threats to your family. I have to say this. A lot of people feel like everybody in the world is nice. There are some people out here who are not nice. There are people out here who want to see you gone, okay? Now, not to make you a panic. It's not a panic or whatever, but as a man in your household, you are the strength. If you hear somebody,
but there are couples. There are same-sex couples with two women with children. Are you saying that they're more vulnerable than a couple with a man?
No. I'm just talking from a man's point of view.
Right, from your own perspective.
I'm talking about a man's point of view. What I'm saying is somebody has to protect the house.
Right.
Now, if for one, if I stayed under the covers and I sent my wife downstairs to get the noise, to hear the noise, and to confront the challenge, I have to say. I'm not talking about gender roles. This is what you got to understand. I'm not talking about gender roles. I'm talking about gender purposes. If I'm home and I have to cook for the family, that's what I do. I do whatever needs to be done. If my wife is the one to protect my kids, then that's what she does. And me and my wife have been married 25 years. We flip. There are times when I'm not around, she has to protect the kids. That's good. There's a time when she's not there, I have to do whatever I have to do. I'm not talking about gender roles here. I'm not talking about the June cleaver and that kind of thing. I'm talking about when I see something that I feel is threatening my family, I am the guy who steps in. And that's a natural progression. And let me tell you something. It's been natural for me. Now, if it's not natural for someone else, that's cool. But I'm just talking about for me. But what I'm saying is when most men get so wrapped up in the roles, you get so tied
in the role of the protector,
to the role of now. But see, no, you gotta understand me. Protection is good. Intimidation,
right?
See, what happens is when you intimidate your family, you're not protecting them. You understand what I'm saying? When you become the threat to your own family. That's not, but some people feel I'm protecting them. And I'm here to tell you that's a line you can't cross.
So when you play this character on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who's afraid to get hurt, afraid to go out into the world and afraid to get shot, and is putting together doll houses, it's a wonderful character. And you said that reflected your experience as a football player.
It did. I mean, there were times when I would play and I thought I was going to break my neck. I thought, what if I'm in a wheelchair? I was at a game and watched a guy, Mike Utley, We were playing the Rams. I was on the Rams at the time, and we were playing against Detroit, and he broke his neck in the game and never walked again. I mean, I was there, and it was a real concern. It was like, man, what am I going to do if I can't provide, if I can't do what I do? You know what I mean? If my family's wheeling me around, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And and I have to say, I enjoy playing football. I enjoyed what it was. But at the same time, it's a culture that looks at women as secondary. It's the culture of sports has decided it's more valuable than women. That's just the way it is. It's like women, hey, cheerleaders, you're doing good, but in their mind, they believe they are more valuable than women. And I'm here to say that that is not true.
It's a tremendous transition, Terry. If you look at you say you're starting out on the mean streets of Flint, becoming a football player, to becoming now a comedic actor, a game show host. When you look at all these changes in your life, do you think you're still evolving as a person?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's something. I don't know what's next. I really don't. I have no idea what's going to happen next in my life because But this is the thing I know for a fact. I am never ever doing what I do for other people. Even as an athlete, you want to fit into a mode that everyone thinks an athlete should be. So if you're an athlete, you got to be strong, you got to be hard. You don't cry, you don't do that. But I cry in movies all the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's all these things that you're supposed to do, but I decided I'm going to do what I want. If I decide to be a farmer, I'm going to go and I'm going to start a farm and I'm going to do that. I decided to be the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and it's been the most satisfying time I've ever had in performing. So what can I say? It's like there are no definitions. We're way too complex to even be put in those kind of boxes.
Terry, thanks so much for coming in today.
Hey, you got it.
I really appreciate it.
Thank
That
you.
is Terry Crews, one of the stars of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He's speaking this Saturday at the White Ribbon Conference in Toronto.